Please rise for the Right Honourable the Lord Mayor of Perth, Mr Bruce Reynolds.
Okay, good afternoon everyone and welcome to the City of Perth April 2026 agenda briefing session. I formally declare this meeting open at 5 p.m. and I'd respectfully like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which we gather, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and we pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. CEO, if you please recite the prayer.
Almighty God, under whose providence we hold responsibility for this city, grant us wisdom to understand its present needs, foresight to anticipate its future growth, and grace to serve our fellow citizens with integrity and selfless devotion. And to thee be all blessing and glory forever. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated. Please note that in accordance with the agenda briefing session terms and reference, this meeting is being publicly broadcasted and the recording will be made available on the City's website following the meeting. In attendance this evening we have Councillor Doshi, Councillor Gobbett, Deputy Lord Mayor Gonsalves, Councillor Coe, Councillor Leza, Councillor Ma and Councillor Patton. No apologies have been received this evening. Councillor Adam Pecan is currently on approved leave of absence. I'll remind councillors to please submit any applications for a leave of absence prior to next week's ordinary council meeting if we can. In addition, I'd like to welcome our Chief Executive Officer, all officers in attendance and the members of public and or media who are also in attendance. Can elected members please acknowledge they have had sufficient time to read and consider the agenda items presented this evening. Thank you. Just a quick reminder regarding mobile phones. If you do need to use your phone in case of emergency, please just excuse yourself from the chamber. In the event of an emergency, please pay attention to and directions to the City of Perth staff. Item 4 is announcements by the Lord Mayor. I don't have any this afternoon. Item 5 is disclosures of interest. CEO, have any disclosures been received?
Yes, Lord Mayor, the following interests have been disclosed. Deputy Lord Mayor David Gonsalves has disclosed an impartiality interest in item 11.2, Wolga Climate Change Advocacy Position Support as they serve on the Wolga Central Zone as the City Representative. Councillor Catherine Leza has disclosed an indirect financial interest in item 12.1 as regarding the testimonial from P. Ekas. She discloses a prior dealing with this person. Deputy Lord Mayor David Gonsalves has disclosed an impartiality interest in item 12.2, Notice of Motion, Response, Public Artworks in Storage, as they have previously expressed support for public art and members of public art community groups are known to them. Deputy Lord Mayor David Gonsalves has disclosed an impartiality interest in item 12.3, Notice of Motion, Response or Obelisk, as they have previously expressed support for public art and members of public art community groups are known to them. Deputy Lord Mayor David Gonsalves has disclosed an impartiality interest in item 12.4, Notice of Motion, the Arc, as they have previously expressed support for public art and members of public art community groups are known to them. Councillor Victor Clowe has disclosed a proximity interest in item 19.2, Notice of Motion, Cat Route Enhancement, as the motion proposes an extension of the CAT bus service towards East Perth. It has not defined the proposed route and very few corridors could be taken. He stands to benefit from this motion as he owns a residence on Terrace Road, which is a possible proposed route, and the motion mentions servicing of the riverfront in Langley Park. He has declared a proximity interest. He has also declared a impartiality interest in item 19.1, Notice of Motion, Developing Traffic Flow. Mr. Bowe is known to me during the ordinary council election and was on my promotional material during the campaign. We also have Councillor Catherine Leza has disclosed an indirect financial interest in item 20.1 as Civic Legal is currently retained by her to provide legal advice on personal strata related issues. And we also have a declaration in regards to Councillor Liam Gobbett and noted to item 19.1, Notice of Motion, Devlamming Avenue traffic calming, and it is a proximity interest as he lives at 45 Adelaide Terrace, which is his residence. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, CEO. Are there any disclosures of interest from the floor?
Thanks.
Just 1 second. Deputy Lord Mayor.
Thanks, Lord Mayor. Just in 19.1 to Fleming Avenue traffic calming trial, Jason Bowe and members of the East Perth Community Group are known to me, and I previously served as Secretary of the East Perth Community Group.
Yep, that's fine. Impartiality or? Yep, okay, thank you.
Impartiality.
Impartiality.
Can I just check with governance? 12.4, the arch, that arch was about a metre from one of my businesses. So would that be a proximity interest?
Good question. I'll just pass that through to our governance officer.
Through you, Lord Mayor, in the abundance of caution, I would disclose.
Can I declare a proximity interest then on 12.4?
You sure can. We'll just give us 1 second to write that in.
Sorry, I should have got that in earlier.
Form on the desk.
Yep.
Sorry.
Okay, so we'll note that as taken, and if you've just got a second to fill out that form, and we'll just grab it by the end of the meeting. Is that okay?
Could I?
Yeah. So
Could I ask a
don't
question?
stress out about it too much, as long as you get it in by the end. Yep.
Lord Mayor, just for the benefit of all council members, when an item deals with something that is no longer there, is it a proximity interest or is it an impartiality?
You've always got a question that I don't know the answer to. Just a second, I'll pass it through to our Director of Governance. Is that what you're... Yeah, look, it's a bit of a tricky one, but to err on the side of caution is probably the safest thing for the councillor to take that path for now. Okie doke. Well, let's move through to part.
Lord Mayor, on that basis, the agenda as it was circulated lacks an item that I believe may be presented at the ordinary council meeting. I'm not sure. So I'll flag my intent to declare that as an impartiality interest on that item. But as there's nothing in front of me, I'm not sure what to declare because there's no report.
Okay, just 1 second. I wouldn't mind knowing a little bit more about that one. Which report is that listed as,
That
councillor?
would be under 20 matters for which the meeting may be closed. There were minutes circulated of that committee that did include the item, but they don't appear in the agenda briefing agenda.
So, if it's the item that you're referring to, that was for noting, so it won't be coming to council, but we'll take your declaration on notice in case it needs to be considered accordingly. Alrighty, let's move on through to public participation. Before we do move into this, just got a quick one to. Now I know what your password is, Charlie. Charlie123. No, it's not. I'll just quickly remind the gallery that we expect a level of behaviour that respects the chamber and those in it and does not interfere or interrupt with the proceedings of this meeting. Disruptions may cause us to adjourn the meeting and request or request the removal of any attendees causing any disruption. So just take that on notice. We'll move on to public questions, which are 6 and 6.1. Public question time will be held at the ordinary council meeting of next week. Item 6.2 is deputations. CEO, are there any deputations?
Thank you very much, Lord Mayor. Yes, there are 13 deputations have been received. One deputation has been received speaking for item 11.1, draft tree retention on private property, local planning property policy, Crawley Netherlands neighbourhood. 2 deputations have been received speaking against item notice of motion 12.2, response public artworks in storage. 3 deputations have been received speaking against item 12.3, notice of motion, response or obelisk. 1 deputation has been received speaking for item 12.4, notice of motion, response, the arch. 1 deputation has been received speaking against item 12.4, notice of motion, response, the arch. One deputation has been received speaking for item 12.5, notice of motion, response Perth Art Award. One deputation has been received speaking against item 19.1, notice of motion, Devlaming Avenue, traffic calming trial. 3 deputations have been received speaking for item 19.2, notice of motion, cat route enhancement.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Please be reminded, ladies and gentlemen, there will be a 5-minute limit for deputations. A reminder that if any elected members have disclosed a financial or proximity interest in relation to any item that is subject of a deputation, you must leave the chamber for the duration of that deputation. I'd now like to invite Mr. Gareth, who is representing Save the Kebab, who is speaking for the recommendation of 11.1, to please come forward. Just please state your name, your suburb, and proceed accordingly, Gareth. Just a little button there, it's on the right-hand side. Perfect.
We got it? Cool. Yeah, yep, my name is Gareth Hart and I live in Netherlands.
Fire
Okay.
away. Your 5 minutes starts now.
Cool. All right, good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me tonight and the opportunity to speak tonight. I'd like to propose that the council review and amend the draft tree retention policy on private property to strengthen its effectiveness in increasing tree canopy, including by broadening the definition of regulated trees, reinforcing a presumption in favour of retention, and establishing clearer baseline rules that reduce reliance on arborist reports in standard cases. I'm here as a strong supporter of tree retention policy. I think this policy is a meaningful and positive step forward, and I want to acknowledge the work that's gone into it. Just like many people in this community, I value the character of our neighbourhood, not just how it looks, but how it feels to live in. Trees provide shade, reduce heat, support wildlife, and make our streets more walkable and livable. These are not abstract benefits, they're experienced every day. And importantly, they take decades to establish. A mature tree is not something we can replace within a planning cycle or even a generation. So the decisions made in this policy are not short term. They shape what this area will feel like in 30 or 40 or 50 years. At the moment, Crawley, Netherlands has approximately 14% tree canopy coverage, 14% tree canopy coverage. Across Perth and Peel, the state target is 30%. That gap is not just a statistic. It raises a fundamental question. What is the role of this policy in closing that gap? If we're serious about canopy, it's not enough to slow the loss. We also need to actively grow it. I support the intent of this policy, but I would like to raise 3 areas where I believe it could be strengthened. First, the definition of a regulated tree. The current definition requires a tree to be at least 8 metres high and meet additional criteria. This is narrower than the standard model proposed by Walga, where a tree can qualify based on height or canopy or trunk size. This matters because it excludes a number of trees that will still provide meaningful canopy and amenity, particularly wide, established trees that may not reach that height threshold. If the goal is to protect canopy, then canopy itself should be a sufficient basis for protection. A narrower definition risks losing trees that are already contributing to shade and character and that would take decades to replace. Second, the balance between retention and development. The policy states that tree retention will be balanced with development outcomes expected in a capital city, and that balance is understandable. But as currently written, it risks diluting the strength of the policy. Without clearer thresholds, balance becomes subjective, and in practice that can mean that retention gives way to convenience. There's a fundamental asymmetry here with tree retention. Buildings can be redesigned, driveways can be moved, but mature trees cannot be relocated or quickly replaced. If this policy is to meaningfully increase canopy from 14% toward 30%, development cannot simply avoid harm, it must become part of the solution. That means requiring development to retain where possible and add canopy where loss occurs. Third, clarity, consistency and the role of arborist reports. I support the use of qualified arborists. Expert input is important, especially in complex cases. The current policy relies heavily on case-by-case assessment and supporting reports. This creates a few challenges. It increases costs for residents, it reduces predictability and outcomes, and it introduces a level of subjectivity that can lead to inconsistent decisions. Two similar properties can end up with very different outcomes depending on how criteria are interpreted. A well-functioning policy should provide clear baseline rules so that most common situations can be assessed without the need for a specialist report. Arborist reports should still play an important role, but primarily in more complex or contested cases where expert judgment is genuinely required. This would improve clarity, reduce costs, and lead to more consistent outcomes across the community. So, the issue is not whether we protect trees, it's whether this policy is strong and clear enough to both prevent further canopy loss and drive meaningful canopy growth over time. Right now, the policy leans more toward managing individual decisions than a clear long-term outcome, but I believe it can do both. These proposed refinements would not change the intent of the policy, they would just strengthen it. They would help ensure that the policy delivers real canopy outcomes while remaining fair, predictable, and practical for residents. Ultimately, this policy is about the kind of place we want to live in, not just today, but decades from now. Trees are long-term infrastructure. Once they're gone for a generation. So the question is not just what we allow today, but what we choose to grow and protect for the future. Thank you.
Well done. Very good timing as well. Are there any questions from the floor? Deputy Lord Mayor?
Thanks. Thanks, Gareth. That's really insightful, especially in terms of what you pointed out there, definition-wise, because we have discussed it, and I pointed out rightly so, like you, that the and/or aspect really does narrow and change the definition. Would it be your view? So you've got three variables there. You've got the trunk width, you've got the canopy width, and you've got the height. Is it your view that all of them should be or, so that it's as expansive as possible, or what combination do you think fits well?
Yeah, I think we just should go or all the way, just as is recommended by the WALGA.
Okay, thank you. Gareth, thanks for coming up, and great deputation. Good to see you. Alrighty, now I'm excited by our next guest. I'd like to invite Bradley Innes, who is representing Church of the Cactus, who is speaking against recommendation 12.2, 3 and 4. Good to see you, Bradley. You've got 5 minutes.
Yep. Thank you, Lord Mayor Reynolds, Deputy Lord Mayor Goncaves, and to all of the council for allowing me tonight to do so what the Cactus cannot do for itself, speak in defence of public art. A few weeks ago, I put up a flyer inviting Perth to worship the Cactus at Forest Place on Saturday the 18th of April at 1 p.m. I was originally hoping for 10, maybe 20 people. What happened last weekend was that thousands of people came to give the Cactus a voice. People in green paint, people with flags, people who flew in from interstate. The Lord Mayor himself came down. Perth Now reported thousands of young people chanting, "All hail the Cactus." Standing there and seeing all of this, I realised something. It was never about the statue. It was about the people, mostly young people, wanting to feel a part of something bigger than themselves. It became iconic. It grounded people within the public landscape. Somewhere along the way, we created connection and meaning. And whether it was the Cactus summoning the people or the people summoning something bigger through it, one thing is clear. Perth didn't just put up a sculpture. We conjured a moment. Because connection grows where people show up. The Cactus has been Perth's unofficial meeting point for more than 15 years. Public art creates social gravity. It gives strangers a shared address. Which is why I want to put my views from the Church of the Cactus to the council tonight. We should be exploring ways for the city to work with young people to develop an annual Cactus Festival, a youth-curated public gathering in Forest Place that formalises what Perth has already shown you it wants. Public art, performance, and a city leaning into what makes Perth special. Saturday showed you potential. Council just has to lean in and support, which is why I also want to talk about the kebab. Installed in 1971, 15 metres of drill pipe threaded with ore from across Western Australia, marking our state's 1 millionth citizen, Perth gave it a nickname, the kebab. That is belonging. As we approach 3 million people in our bicentenary in 2029, we should be looking at how to celebrate our local landmarks, living our history rather than relegating it to storage or oblivion. I don't know about you, but it's hard to admire public art when it lives on an app, far away from people and away from our lived landscape. The public expect that public art should exist in the public, not scattered away in industrial storage or rusting away south of the river or relegated to the digital realm. The recommendations before you clearly says, remove it, digitise it, move on. With respect, that is not a public art outcome. You cannot replace a landmark with a link. To add insult to injury, it was recently replaced with the foreign commissioned Bringy Spaceman sculpture. So instead of torching one piece of artwork and replacing it with another, I ask you all, why not have both? Why can't the kebab and the spaceman live in harmony with one another? Why hide one and let the other stay? Now, with all of this in mind, imagine my surprise when I come to find out that 2 years ago, former Lord Mayor Bezos Palace similarly threatened to remove the cactus. He said it didn't fit in, wanted to redevelop the space to make it more modern, accommodate more people. But we saw on the weekend what people think of that. Tonight I urge you, you cannot manufacture genuine connection, you cannot substitute the power of the people, and you should never replace a landmark for a link. If the kebab cannot return in its original form, what comes next must still be something Perth can gather around. A new commission, a reinterpretation, a new cultural connection waiting to happen that uplifts our history and most importantly our people. I ask Council to support public art and lean on what you've seen organically with the cactus, because public art is not about preservation, it is about presence and it is about people. I came here tonight because the cactus showed me a city that still wants to gather around something. That is a city telling you what it needs. That is people telling you what they want. And the cactus, it doesn't just stand there, it stands its ground. It stands for something, not because we told it to, because the people of Perth decided it would. If we are listening tonight, we can give Perth the city it has already chosen, one where people still gather, still connect, and forever seek a place to truly belong. May we all hail the cactus.
Hail the cactus, Bradley. Thank you very much, mate. And there's an age-old conundrum, and it's what's more important, a leader or a follower? And you can see why you've managed to gain so many followers, because you're a decent young human being. So well done, mate. Has anyone got any questions for Bradley? That means you've put your...
I'm happy to have a
Sorry,
question.
okay.
Yeah, sure.
Deputy Lord Mayor.
You mentioned there about a Perth Cactus Festival. Now, obviously, there were thousands of people that organically came to Forest Place. What would that look like? Would it be a commemoration of the first event? And then I realised that the Indonesian Food Festival was on at the same time. Would it include food vendors? And would it be... Yeah, what do you imagine that to be?
I feel like it'd sort of just become a hybrid of both events. You've got the cactus as sort of the main staple, kids painting themselves, doing all the fun stuff for the cactus, and then you've also got like infrastructure in place, like food, games, activities, etc.
Okay, all right. Good to see you, Bradley, and I'll see you tomorrow. You're going to
see you
pop in the
tomorrow.
council house and have a tea with you. I'll be looking forward to that. See you then.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, now I'd like to... Now, this one's going to be a challenge. I love this lady, but my goodness, 5 minutes is going to be a stretch. So can I please invite Helen Curtis to please come up and do her deputation, please? 5 minutes, you'll go, Helen. Good to see you.
Good to you.
I'm just going to go a bit sideways. Good evening, Lord Mayor and councillors. Thank you for the opportunity to address you all today. I'm here to speak in response to the administration's reply to item 12.2. My name's Helen Curtis and I speak on behalf of the advocacy group Save the Kebab. By way of background, I'm an art consultant, a curator and a collection manager. I'm the director of an arts consultancy, and prior to this I worked at the City of Perth for a long time, decade and a half. I've got a lot of credentials. I'm the chair of the Heritage Trust's Public Art and Monuments Committee. I want to begin by saying that I love this city and I want the best for it. I would like to talk about the city's management of the cultural collections and what seems to be the city's declining value of the collection. Before I get into that, I want to address the interpretation of the Captain Stirling Monument. This monument is directly connected to the Pinjarra Massacre, an event that continues to have far-reaching implications for Noongar people. The Pinjarra Massacre, which was orchestrated by the former Governor Stirling, is the subject of many scholarly articles and has been formally recognised by the state, and particularly by the current Governor of Western Australia. That context carries ongoing cultural and historic impact for Noongar people. However, nowhere in the report that's in front of the elected members are Noongar people mentioned, and in this setting, consultation with the Noongar community must be a foundational requirement. Consultation with the Noongar community must inform how the Captain Stirling artwork is understood, interpreted and managed. For a monument of this significance, that is a foundational expectation. Elected members, I'd like to ensure that you have an informed perspective of the city's management of the cultural collections. In 2021, the reported value of the City of Perth's cultural collections had a combined civic asset value of approximately $21 million, including fine art, public art and cultural heritage items. These are public assets held in trust as part of the city's cultural legacy. They're collected to reflect the City of Perth's identity, support artists, provide public access to culture and ensure that these works are preserved for future generations. It is our view that over the past several years, the collection has been poorly managed. The record shows that there has been an unwinding of the City of Perth's cultural collections, and elected members and the public have not been fully informed of this. In 2021, the City of Perth commissioned Element Advisory to undertake a comprehensive cultural collections service review. The final report that was submitted in April 2021 found significant risks to the city's collection due to chronic under-resourcing, unsafe and overcrowded storage and lack of public access or curatorial insight. The report identified that the city was not compliant with its own policies and recommended staged investment and reform to prevent deterioration and reputational damage. A subsequent internal briefing note dated the 12th of May 2021 shows that the Chief Executive Officer and the former Lord Mayor Basil Zemplis rejected those recommendations, accepting a description of the cultural collections as non-core business. This memo means that steps were taken to halt exhibitions, digitisation, partnership and conservation work, leaving the city's collections effectively dormant and at risk. Crucially, this administration decision appears to have been taken without formal council resolution, which, as I understand it, is contrary to the spirit and intent of the City of Perth Act 2016, which assigns the city a specific cultural leadership role as Western Australia's capital city. Following this decision, as I understand it, in 2021, a unilateral decision was made to remove a significant public asset, that was the Orr obelisk by Paul Ritter. This work could have been restored, as was identified in the March 2021 report by Capital House, and there were funds available to restore the work in the Public Art Reserve at that time. In 2023, a second public artwork, The Arch by Lorena Grant, was dealt with in a similarly disrespectful manner. Both works were said to have been in safe storage. However, it was later found that Lorena Grant's artwork was being held in an open-air industrial site without any environmental protection, close to the coast, and had sustained at that time significant damage. This information was presented to the Council and the City of Perth on the 25th of March 2025, with a request for the artwork to be treated in line with best practice and stored properly. At the time, a request for information on how the Orr obelisk was being stored a year later has passed and no information has been forthcoming.
Excuse me, Helen, you are past the 5-minute mark, so I'll give you an extra minute just to wrap up, if that's okay.
Okay, so also $1.3 million in art reserves was diverted to general public, and those reserves now sit at zero. I've got a couple of questions, but what I would say is, given the cultural significance of these assets, I request Lord Mayor and councillors that you consider, one, commissioning an independent review of the cultural collections governance, reinstating proper curatorial and conservation oversight, ensuring the protection of the remaining cultural collections assets, which includes upgrading the collection storage facility, and clarify decision-making authority and reporting to council. And those reports that I mentioned can be provided to the elected members if they so wish. Thank you for your time.
No problem. Appreciate that. Appreciate your time. Is there any questions from the floor? Deputy Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Helen, you mentioned there about the dormant nature of the collections and a determination there around the non-core aspect. Could you just elaborate what you meant there? And was that, I realise there's been reporting around freedom of information requests that your group has put forward. Is that part of what you discovered?
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. We did, the Save the Kebab group did put forward an FOI request. That memo is it's a briefing note. That was not actually found in the FOI. That was not provided to us. That was something that was passed to me by a concerned member of the public. And the term non-core was the term used in the memo. Non-core business.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'll just follow up with that. It would be useful for council to be made aware, so it would be amazing if you're able to send it to elected members. You mentioned there is around the art reserve being zeroed out and now going to zero. Could you explain a little bit about what the purpose and the intention there and the rationale of having the reserve there in the first place and what the impact is?
Thank you for the question. There were 3 reserves that were zeroed out, totalling $1.3 million. The first was the Art Acquisition Reserve, which I believe is back on the agenda today. That had been in place for, I think I actually was part of instigating it, so it had been around for at least 15 years. It was a really important way of acquiring works for the city's collection. So money would go into the operational budget each year and to purchase artworks. Any remaining money would go back into the reserve. Interest would accrue on the reserve, so it was an accumulating fund. It was meant to be there so that if items came up that were of significant value, they could be purchased by the City of Perth. The City of Perth collection is a really significant collection in Western Australia. The second reserve was the Public Art Reserve, which was meant to be for commissioning artworks. It could also have been used for the maintenance of artworks. And the third reserve was the Bonus Plot Ratio Reserve, which looked after, which could be drawn on for a number of different things. And one of those was public art, and that works could have been maintained, or that could have serviced the cost of maintaining and conserving both the arch and the obelisk at the time, but a decision was made not to do that. Those reserves are all extinct.
Yep, thank you. And in terms of your recommendations, you mentioned there around an independent review of the collection's governance. What would that look like, and what would the scope in particular be? Would it just be for the operation of the collections, or how would you envisage it?
That's a good question. There are several structural things that we believe have led to this point, this moment in time, to the unwinding of the artwork. So I think there's things like, why was the decision made that the cultural collections was non-core business when they are, it's a collection of $21 million that needs to be looked after. It's an asset that appreciates. It's also, I think in the policies, it's referred to that it needs to be looked after in accordance with the city's asset management plan or asset management policy. Cultural collections are not widgets. They're not fleet. They're not computers. They are bespoke. They are unique items of incredible cultural value. If they are in the city's collection, they need to be treated as such. They need to be looked at by conservators. They need to be valued. They are treated specially and differently. So they should not be, they should not be managed according to the city's general asset management policy. I believe also that the city's policies, all of the policies have been unwound. So in terms of...
Sorry, Helen, I'm just going to cut you off there because I think you've answered the question. If that's okay, I'm going to pass over to Councillor Gobbett. He's got a question.
Thanks, Lord Mayor. Helen, I didn't want to presume anything from your deputation, but it says in front of me that you're speaking against the recommendation, but from what you've stated, I just wanted to clarify the specific recommendation that we've got in front of us. In isolation and notwithstanding any changes that might be made by elected members potentially, in isolation, would you support the recommendation as it's written as a standalone. So where it references acknowledging actions being taken by the administration to review the Captain Stirling Monument, or 2B to investigate options for increased accessibility and receiving the report, just in isolation, are those things that you would support separate to any other actions we might take?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Gobbett. Is it possible to bring it up on the screen so I can read it?
If you've got it there, Councillor Gobbett, have you got a printout of it? Okay. No, that's all right. We'll see if we can quickly grab it.
I can see if I can pull it up.
That's right.
Oh, thank you. Do you want me to go through each one item by item?
Well, yeah, that was in essence the question. As individual items, notwithstanding any changes that might be made, would you support those as individual actions? Or
On item 2A, I'm concerned, I have grave concerns that the city hasn't once mentioned First Nations people, Aboriginal people, the Pinjarra massacre or Noongar consultation. I think that is a huge oversight, and so no, I don't support that without that being mentioned. I think that's foundational to any new looking at or reinterpretation of that particular monument. That's in line with international best practice and in step with what is happening internationally. So as a capital city, the City of Perth needs to do that at its very least. The next is item 2B, the digital resource. I think, to be honest, is a complete waste of everybody's time and money. The Or Obelisk and is that what we're looking at? Digital resources? Oh no, that's just the next item, isn't it? Yeah, so this is, I have no problem with accessibility. I think that's a great thing that the city is funding. That's great. Is there an item 3 or is that the end? Yeah,
and
so
if I
it's
could
really,
just clarify your response on the 2A. Would you accept an officer's interpretation of the word interpretation of the Captain Stirling Monument, noting that as councillors we can't affect the content of the report, but we can change the motion? And could you foresee that through authorising a review of location and interpretation, that what you've discussed might come through at a later date?
No, I would not make that assumption, particularly given the city's track record. I think recently the city decided not to look into a reconciliation action plan. I think that's really concerning. The city currently, unfortunately, doesn't have really good grounding. So no, I would say that would be a massive assumption. I don't want to make that assumption. So I think it's really important that it is included in there that the City of Perth is in line with international best practice, and they do include consultation with Noongar, probably with Noongar elders, and that they mention the Pinjarra massacre, which, as I have stated, has been accepted by the state government and has been spoken about by the governor, the current governor. So the Pinjarra massacre is now formally recognised, and the City of Perth should also do the same.
Okay, guys, I think we can close that one out. Let's move on to item 12.3. Helen, you've also got a deputation for that one. And just before you do go on to that one, just quickly in regards to the Stirling issue, that statue has been ready to go back up in place for some time. The reason it hasn't to this stage is because of the consultation that obviously does include our Indigenous elders and also Indigenous local community. So, so that box certainly has been well and truly being filled, and when that announcement's ready to be made, then that will be included. But let's move on now to 12.3. And over to you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Thank you, councillors. Thank you for your time. I'm going to address item 12.3, which is a response to the Or Obelisk. The Or Obelisk was a significant civic asset, and I use the word was intentionally. Commissioned in 1971, it was a landmark work that represented Western Australia's unique geology and importance to the Western Australian economy during the 1960s mineral boom. It was a memorial to the population of Western Australia reaching 1 million people. It was constructed through the collective effort of industry, government and community, and it stood for 50 years as part of the City of Perth's cultural identity and public realm. It was a significant part of the city's cultural collection held in trust for the people of Perth. 12 months have passed since the council meeting of the 25th of March 2025, where the city committed to providing a report on the Ore Obelisk and the Arch, and there has been no satisfactory information to the public on an issue of clear public and cultural significance. We at Save the Kebab have grave concerns that the information provided to the public and to the elected members has not been accurately reflected in the circumstances surrounding the removal of both works, so I will be direct. In my professional opinion, the removal of both the Ore Obelisk and the Arch by the City of Perth has led to a situation where the reconstruction of either work is now unviable. And that's not a rhetorical statement, it's a professional collection management assessment. This outcome is not consistent with recognised best practice. It is not consistent with the city's own public art policy. Both the Ore Obelisk and the Arch had experienced degradation, and that is normal for works of their age. The works had been neglected, and so they were degraded and subsequently removed and in effect destroyed. The 2021 structural report of the Ore Obelisk identifies safety risks and it recommends mitigation. It does not directly state that the work needs to be removed or disposed of. It outlines a pathway forward that includes repair, refurbishment or reconstruction, and I think elected members, you should read that report. A costed conservation pathway was reported on and existed. The report includes a quotation of $107,482 for deconstruction and rebuild, and that is a manageable intervention for a civic asset of this significance. At the same time, at that point in time, there were sufficient funds available within the Public Art Reserve and the Bonus Plot Ratio Reserve to undertake this work. There was a viable funded pathway to conserve the work. It was not taken. Instead, the city dismantled the work in a manner that makes reconstruction unviable. I understand that the decision to remove the Ore Obelisk was made at an administration level and in full knowledge of the report. It was, as I understand it, a unilateral decision to remove and in doing so destroy a significant civic asset. Once a work is dismantled without a conservation framework, future options are completely removed. You can't properly conserve it, you can't meaningfully reinstate it, and you can't return it to the public realm in any authentic way. The work told a West Australian story, and the report that you have been provided with states that everything had been done in line with best practice. Lord Mayor and councillors, as an expert in international best practice and in the management of public artwork and monuments, I can tell you very clearly that frameworks such as UNESCO, which is the United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organisation, and ICOMOS, the International Council on Monuments and Sites, prioritise conservation over removal. The emphasis of these frameworks is on retaining cultural significance, material integrity and historic value. Removal is a last resort. It is only applied where a work is beyond repair or has lost the characteristics that determine value. That's international best practice. The Ore Obelisk had not lost those characteristics. It remained a meaningful and legible part of the city's cultural fabric. The city had stated that its actions align with Public Art Policy CP 4.8, and that policy requires artworks to be preserved and managed in accordance with best practice. On that basis, it's difficult to reconcile the decision taken with the requirement to follow that standard. This raises questions about process, governance and accountability. There is no evidence that a conservation-led approach was ever considered. There is no evidence that all viable options had been assessed against the city's own policies before irreversible action was taken, and that falls way short of accepted practice. I'm just going to skip to the end because I'm not going to take up too much of your time. At a minimum, on behalf of Save the Kebab campaign members and all of the people of Perth who support the campaign, I'm asking for the following: that a formal public acknowledgement from the city that the Ore Obelisk and the Arch were removed in a manner inconsistent with best practice that they should have been conserved. I would like a formal, and we would like a formal apology to Paul Ritter's family and to the people of Perth for the loss of these works. A full public release of all reports, advice and decision-making records relating to the removal of both works. An independent review of the city's public art governance, including decision-making processes and adherence to policy. A clear governance change that removes the ability for an administrative decision to be made to remove works from the city's cultural collection, a requirement that any proposed deaccessioning, removed or major intervention must go through the appropriate advisory bodies, including the Arts and Cultural Advisory Group and relevant cultural advisors, a requirement that these matters are formally presented to Council for decision with full documentation and transparency, and a reinstatement of properly resourced collection management and conservation capability within the city.
You're going to take a breath sooner or later, and I'm going to jump
Yeah.
in. Thank you, Helen.
Please.
Well done.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to pop that quickly through to questions from the floor. Councillor Gobbett.
Thank you. Helen, have you been made aware of the position of the Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage on this at all?
You mean the Heritage Council?
Through the Heritage Council, yes.
What do you mean precisely?
If they have a position on the deaccessioning or the continued presence of an artwork?
By the Heritage Council?
Correct.
No. Are you talking? I'm sorry, that's a really ambiguous question.
And I apologise for that, but there's
It's
information.
quite
that's-
ambiguous. Yeah.
I would like
Sorry,
to
I
refer
can't
to.
I can't comment on that. I'm not sure what you're asking.
I'll leave it there then, Lord Mayor. Thanks.
Okay, no problem. Anyone else like to ask any questions?
Yep.
One quick question,
Yeah,
because we've got to move on to the next
Here's
item.
a quick question.
Lord Mayor.
Helen, have you, throughout this process, it's now been 12 months since your group and others have come to council. Have you had linkages and just dialogue with the city? We've been told, at least from our last briefing, that there was going to be representations made to you about the drill bit, about the future. Have you had any dialogue?
No.
Okay, now what we'll do is we'll now move to 12.4, and that is in regards to Save the Kebab. Councillor Patton, I might just ask you to leave the meeting, and I might just check on you as well. Are you okay for time? All right, when you're ready, you've got to... Councillor Patton's got an emergency he may need to attend to, that's all. Oh, so 12.4. Yep, so 12.4 is regarding the arch. Okay, Helen.
Thank you. I'll try and make this a bit quicker for you. I'll start out by saying that on behalf of, so it's Helen Curtis, I'm speaking to item 12.4. I'll start by saying that on behalf of Save the Kebab, we applaud the City of Perth's decision to fund $210,500 for the commissioning of a new public artwork as part of James Street. We are delighted that a new artwork will be commissioned for the site, and we hope that Lorena Grant will be offered the opportunity to put forward a concept. I would also like to say, again, with reference to the former deputation, that I'd like to place on record key evidence that hasn't been adequately addressed in the administration's response. In 2023, the arch showed signs of needing maintenance. The evidence at that time pointed to review and remediation and not removal. The artist Lorena Grant provided a clear pathway forward, a controlled removal for investigation and repair, and a costed remediation approach of approximately $41,500 plus GST, excluding any additional structural work that was revealed during dismantling, and that pathway was not pursued by the City of Perth. Instead, the work was removed using oxy-cutting where bolts could not be located, and following inspection in storage with the original fabricator, the 20-metre upper limb showed no deterioration. The disassembly process caused peeling and deformation, and this introduced uncertainty around structural integrity and reduced the potential for conservation. At the base, there were local signs of corrosion, and the engineering advice recommended transportation to a fabrication yard for controlled remediation, which was costed. At that time, decommission was not recommended. So again, I'm going to skip to the end because you've heard all of that before. We have some real concerns about process and about how the city's the city's cultural collections are being managed and cared for. They are unique legacy items that are really, they should be owned by the people of Perth and looked after in accordance with best practice. We believe they have not been. Thank you.
Okay, appreciate that, Helen. Would anyone like to ask any questions? No? Okay. Helen, I'm actually going to get you, I'm going to pop your next one in as well, because that means that Councillor Patton can stay outside. So that's your deputation in regards to 12.5? Oh, he needs to come back in? Okay. All right, it means you can stay at the podium and we can get Councillor Patton back in. That one there, that's different. Gotcha.
I think you're where are you? Okay. We're at item 6.2.5, or do you want us to stay here?
12.5, which is the speaking for 12.5.
Okay, and Tinica is
Yeah, of
speaking
course.
to that one
Yeah,
too.
no problem. Sorry, and also
Tinica, yeah.
Tina van der Eken. Hi, Tina.
Tinica van der Eken.
Yep. Okay. So for those playing at home, this is in reference to the Perth Art Award.
Start? Yep.
12.5.
Thank you. Thanks, Lord Mayor and councillors. I speak as an independent art consultant, a curator, collection manager, part of Save the Kebab, a member of the Makers Collective, and a former City of Perth employee where I led the arts team for about 13 years. I'm speaking to item 12.5, the Perth Art Award. I'd like to bring to your attention, Lord Mayor and councillors, that a few matters that are important as background to this item. The City of Perth once had a clear art acquisition framework. The City of Perth had 3 cultural awards: the Art Award, the Photographic Award and the Craft Award. It also had an art acquisition operational budget and a protected art acquisition reserve. It also had an appropriate collection management process. That framework ensured discipline, it ensured quality and it ensured continuity in the city's collection, and that framework no longer exists. I refer you to my deputation for item 12.2, which noted the current issues briefing note, which was written by two former City of Perth employees and countersigned by the CEO and the former Lord Mayor. The note stated that the cultural collections are not core business. Now you're being asked to consider whether to bring back an art award or whether to establish an acquisition fund. And Lord Mayor and councillors, I believe that this should not be an either or decision. This should not be presented as a choice between options. At a minimum, the city should restore the full framework that previously governed the collection, which is reinstating the City of Perth Cultural Awards, including the Art Award, Photographic Award and Makers Award or Craft Award, re-establish a protected art acquisition operational budget and re-establish a protected art acquisition reserve. So I want to talk a little bit about the role of awards. Strong art awards create visibility for artists, they build public engagement and they position a city culturally. And we know this from established models, and I refer you to the Archibald Prize, the Leicester Prize, the Collie Art Prize, the City of Joondalup Invitation Art Prize, which has consistently delivered high quality works into a civic collection while maintaining strong public engagement. These examples show how awards, when properly structured, raise standards and contribute to collections. We're also seeing what happens when these opportunities are reduced. There's an example given of the Royal Agricultural Society of Western Australia's Art Prize, which has recently moved to a biennial model, and the response from artists has been immediate and significant. I'm not going to go into too much detail because you have heard enough of me, I think. Without acquisition, awards become short-term gestures. My question to you, elected members, is quite simple. Do you accept that the cultural collections are part of the city's core responsibility as the capital city of Western Australia? If the answer is yes, then the current settings need practical changes to support that position. I believe at a minimum the city must restore the full framework that previously governed the collection. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the floor?
Yes,
Councillor
Lord
Maher,
Mayor.
and I'll go to you, DLM.
May I ask the admin's position on this?
Through to the CEO, sorry.
Thank you very much for that question. And if I could invite Kim Jamison, who is our Alliance Manager, Arts and Culture, to answer the question, please. Provide us some insights.
Thank you. And through the Lord Mayor, we are in the process of developing a public art strategy. And in that strategy, we will be looking at all aspects of public art, from commissioning all the way through to the policies, and we'll be reviewing all the policies in accordance with that strategy. So that will pick up some of these questions and start to unpick some of these questions, because we have to bring these back to council and put this to council through a core strategy. So in the interim, what these 4 reports are doing are dealing with immediate issues that we've been asked to deal with. So the public art strategy will deal with those wider issues that are being presented to us this evening.
Okay, thank you. Was Deputy Lord Mayor? Oh, scared me. Still scared. Shh. Far away while I
Thank
try and
you.
work out tech.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Just in terms of the categories you mentioned there being part of the Art Awards, you mentioned there around crafts and obviously I just wanted to understand the rationale and the need for having different categories that help foster different creative communities.
Tineke.
Yeah, far away.
Thank you. I believe Tineka's going to talk a bit about the Craft Award, but they were previously very established awards that artists look forward to that fed directly into the City of Perth's collection. The collection then becomes a repository of artworks and a legacy where people can look back on what was happening at the time and see into the past. They are loaned out for exhibitions. Each of the Art Award, Photographic Award, and Craft Award support the different kind of arts groups or the different arts disciplines. So it's really important as a capital city to have an exemplary practice, because other local governments look to the capital city as what they're doing. So that would be in line with what other capital cities are doing, and in fact in line with what other local government, metro area local governments are doing, which the City of Perth is not currently doing. So if the City of Perth was doing it like 20 years ago, it should at least be doing that, if not more than currently.
And I'll have a follow up just there. You mentioned about it's not an either or. In terms of how that could work, could it be that we have like a biennial approach, that you have an art award in 1 year and then acquisition, and then turn that into a 2-year long program?
Great idea.
Okay, and one quick question. So when you're speaking about the previous award, which was art, craft and photography, so that was one award with 3 different categories?
No, there were 3 separate awards.
3 separate categories that run at different times?
Correct.
Okay, and when did that stop? Are you aware of that?
Different times. The Craft Award, you're testing my memory.
Just roughly.
I think it's in the report, actually, maybe. The Craft Award finished in like 2001, 2002. It was after Linda Dorrington took over Craft West from Linda Brown. That's how I remember it. I think it was like 2000 or 2001, maybe 2002,
Okay,
quite
so
a long time ago, some time ago. Tineka's going to talk to that. It was a really highly... that was at the time when Linda Dorrington was changing Craft West, which was an advocacy agency for a peak body for the crafts people in Western Australia, and she then turned it into a statewide organisation. So she turned that into Form, which had a different business model, and they were looking at different things. So she didn't think that a craft award partnership was where she wanted to go. I'm not sure about the Photographic Award. I think the Art Award finished up in 2008.
Okay, all right.
The Photographic Award a bit later, I think.
Oh, appreciate that. Any other questions? No? Okay, well, thank you very much for your enormous contribution this evening and your time. Good to see you. Nice to meet you too for the first time, Tineke. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
now what we will do, and
Can I have a little moment?
yeah, that's fine. I'm only going to give you 2 minutes though, because we've already used the 5 minutes in the deputation.
I will
on this
be
item.
brief.
Go
So
for it,
I'm
Life.
sorry. Oh, that's loud. I'm Tineke van der Eek, and I'm the chairperson of the Jewellers and Metalsmiths Group of Western Australian. We have sister organisations in other states. I'm also speaking on behalf of other crafts organisations and of Carola Akindele Obi, who is involved with IOTA, the Indian Ocean Craft Triennial, and Makers and Smith. Together we form an informal group at the moment. It might change in the near future, but to represent and lobby for the makers in this state. I'd like to really firmly support the suggestion of a Makers Award. I would call it a Makers Award as opposed to digital and AI-influenced making. Our makers are hand makers, have studios, and depend on this for their livelihood. We've seen the decline of tertiary education in the arts, and since COVID, there's a lot of people joining the makers, but there's a decline in offer of funding and support for professional development. So our organizations are filling a gap, and we really need this type of award to help our makers. Oh, yeah.
You might have just accidentally pressed the button.
Oh, okay. I won't. Carola asked me to present to you that, as you know, the heart and soul of any city is expressed through its art and culture. It is what gives it a place its identity, its distinctiveness, and its ability to connect meaningfully with residents and visitors alike. Craft practitioners, workers across jewellery, ceramics, textiles, wood, and other disciplines are part of that living cultural fabric, creating work that reflects place, material, history, and community. From an international perspective too, cities that invest in craft and material-based practice are not only supporting culture, they're strengthening their creative economies, enhancing tourism, and building a distinct identity in an increasing competitive global landscape. Perth is well placed to do this. We are already seeing strong audience demand for authentic handmade experiences. The 2024 Indian Ocean Craft Triennial engaged over 500 craft artists and delivered more than 70 exhibitions and events across 60 venues in WA, attracting over 125,000 attendees. Even in 2021, under pandemic conditions, the program reached over 100,000 visitors. So importantly, I'm just trying to abbreviate here. So looking ahead, the 2027 triennial will build on the momentum of 2021 and 2024 to continue with actually hosting an International Craft Masters Award in Perth, bringing global attention, cultural exchange, and economic benefit to the city. So this is the context that we are offering for this Makers Award. Thank you.
Okay, look, really appreciate that, and sorry to cut you off. Just what might make it easy next time if you just do separate deputations, that way you'll get 5 minutes each, but I'm pretty sure that you had an opportunity to get your, it was well spoken. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move back to 12.3, which is the speaking against the or obelisk, and I'd like to welcome Sandy Angie to the podium. Ex-councillor. Good to see you, Sandy. You know the drill.
Thank you, Lord Mayor and councillors. It looks like Felicity Johnson might have been missed in the... She's got a confirmation of her deputation, but she was noted in that list earlier on. But
it looks like that she had a joint with Helen and Felicity. Because Felicity didn't jump up, I just assumed she wasn't here. I didn't realise you were here, Felicity.
do you have Felicity?
What I'll do is, I'll come back to you and give you a super burst at 5 minutes, if that's okay. No problem. Yep, sorry. But, yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Lord Mayor and councillors, for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm speaking against the recommendation in item 12.3, the response to the Aura Blisk. Given that option 1 is now no longer viable in terms of the artwork has been destroyed, I'm respectfully requesting the council to consider an option 6, being a combination of options 4 and 5, that is the commemoration and the de-accessioning. Specifically, what I'm asking the council to consider is, subject to advice from the City of Perth Elders Advisory Group and the Larisha family, that several pieces of the monument, perhaps including the drill bit, to be placed on permanent display in the Council House foyer to commemorate the work. This could be accompanied by some of the beautiful photography of the work that's been done over the years and a QR code for people to read more if they wanted and watch the proposed digital commemoration, whatever that may be. I note the cost of placing pieces on display would be minimal. This is not a reimagining of the artwork. This is about memory in physical form and commemorating a part of our city's history. As noted in the administration's report, relying on just technology does not satisfy expectations. I know when I first put forward the idea of a statue of Edith Cowan, some said it was old-fashioned and why not just a digital commemoration? It is not the same. A city is a physical thing. Walking through its streets and buildings allows people to immerse themselves in the stories and experiences that have shaped our city, and this requires physical reminders. I wholeheartedly agree with Bradley when you said you cannot replace a landmark with a link. The option 6 I am proposing offers a sustainable, accessible and lasting tribute to the city's history. Addressing some of the matters in the administration's report, first, the city's report states wider community views on the kebab artwork are mixed. We do not have details of this public survey. We do not know what questions were asked and how many people responded. However, what we do know, what is in the public domain, is that 1,700 people signed a survey to reinstate the Aura Blisk, and letters were sent in support of the Aura Blisk by the National Trust, the Australian Institute of Architects, the Chamber of Arts and Culture, and leaders in the art and design community, including Emeritus Professor Jenny Gregory, former government architect Jeff Warne, and many, many others. Second, the report states that city officers met with a Risha family member. We do not know the details of this discussion, nor what options were presented to the family. However, the report does state that the family member hoped the city would consider a commemoration of the work. Third, the city's report states that the State Heritage Register identifies the monument as, I quote, an intrusive element, and the city's Stirling Gardens Management Plan recommended its relocation. I ask, has the State Heritage Council been asked to consider whether the Boonji Spaceman is an intrusive element? And would a review of the Stirling Gardens Management Plan recommend its relocation, which, by the way, was meant to be temporary? Fourth, the city's report states that the Aura Blisk doesn't contribute to the heritage significance of Stirling Gardens, but the report does not address the significance of the work itself. I refer to the letter sent by the Australian Institute of Architects and the Heritage Assessment by the Heritage Committee of the Institute of Architects, which found that the Aura Blisk to have exceptional historic and social significance. Further, in a book titled 50 Years of Council House, 1963 to 2013, there's a quote that says, the obelisk, colloquially referred to as the shish kebab, is one of the sculptures most connected to Council House. It was created to commemorate the mineral and energy boom that began in the 1960s and the large development projects in the northwest of the state that were all directed from Perth. Can I just have one more minute?
Yeah, that's just a kind of like a 30-second warning.
Okay, cool. Fifth, while the city's report refers to the Aura Blisk as a monument to the mining industry, it's far more than this. It's also a celebration of the Perth's population reaching 1 million people, and I think you would all agree that it's a significant moment in the history of Perth. The city recently spent $250,000 to celebrate a US spaceman flying over the city. Just another example. In closing, just to reiterate, what I'm asking is not a reimagining, but that would no doubt be challenging, expensive, and cannot replace the original. but subject to advice from the Elders Advisory Group and the Ritter family that several pieces be placed on permanent display in this council house building to which the sculpture is intimately connected, so that we have a lasting physical reminder of the work. And just noting again, as I said before, is that this offers a sustainable, accessible and lasting tribute, and the cost of this would be minimal in addition to what has already been put forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll just throw it to the floor for any questions. Deputy Lord Mayor, surprise, surprise. Go ahead.
Always have a question. Thank you, Sandy, for that. I recognise that the state government has just started the new Creative Industries Task Force, and you sit on that. Is there an opportunity there for the city? I'm not sure that we have engaged with the state government yet on these matters. Is there the opportunity to engage with the task force and the department?
Yeah, well, that's something I can definitely put forward to the task force.
Okay, great. And you mentioned there around the 1 million mark that was that the Ore Obelisk was commemorating. We're obviously propelling straight ahead into the 3 million mark, and the ABS statistics say that we're going to reach that pretty soon. And we obviously have our bicentenary, the 2029 celebrations as well. Is that an opportunity for us to commemorate or have a reimagining of a new work that details our mining history and our milestones?
Yeah, well, that sounds like something that the council could definitely consider. But obviously, as the report states, and as you know, a reimagining, would be expensive and it would take time, and there'll be lots of consultation. But it doesn't replace the original. So it says in option 1 that it's not viable to remake the original. So what do we do with these important pieces that are now is pieces of the artwork? And so I'm just putting forward this idea that perhaps in the council house foyer, in a respectful way, following the appropriate consultation with the Elders Advisory Group and the Ritter family, that pieces of the work could be put on permanent display with photography and the QR code, like I said, just as a not particularly relevant example, but just walking into Council House today in the ground floor, the new entrance, there's a display of old parking meters and photos. There's displays all through Council House from different parts of the city's history. And given the significance of this artwork and that it cannot be put back together, to consider a respectful way to ensure that the memory of this artwork lives on in a respectful way in the city.
Okay, thank you. And I don't want to preempt anything, but there might be an option coming forward between now and next week, so we might have to watch that space as well. Any other questions? I've got a question for you. Tuesday evenings, do you miss it?
Couldn't possibly answer that question. It's not relevant to 12.3.
Good on you. Good to see you, Sandy. All the best. Okay, now I will ask Felicity, do you want to pop up? Good to see you.
Thanks. Lord Mayor, councillors, my name is Felicity Johnston and I live in Nedlands. I'm also referring to item 12.3, the response to the Ore Obelisk and the proposed deaccessioning of the Ore Obelisk. I'm also referring to my letter or the correspondence to the Quality and Stakeholder Officer of the City of Perth dated the 11th of April 2025 and a response received on the 16th of April 2025. This correspondence clearly states that the City received approvals from both the Heritage Council and the Departments of Parks, Land and Heritage for the temporary installation of the Bungie Spaceman on the pre-existing plate from the Ore Obelisk. I can provide that if you need it. Noting the City's recommendation to deaccession the Ore Obelisk, can you please confirm that this will include the removal of the base plate and Bungie Spaceman, and whether this will be completed in time to comply with the 12-month approval received from the Department of Parks, Land and Heritage for the temporary installation?
Okay, just 1 second. I'll just see if we will take that on notice. Okay, sorry. And questions are next week, so it's just statements today. So if you want to put that question in with notice for next week, we can make sure that's answered. So if you pop the question through in the next day or so, we'll get an answer for you ready for the ordinary council meeting.
Okay,
Cool.
thank you.
That's all right, no problem at all. Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll now move to Deputation 10, which I'd like to invite Jason Bowe to please come up to the microphone, and I'd also like to invite Councillor Gobbett to please take his leave.
Before I jump in, just confirming, 19.1, we did send in a update request this last night to councillors.
Yep.
Just confirming that the motion will be updated for the OCM.
Yep.
I realise obviously the agenda for the briefing ABS is too late.
Yep, no problem. That will be.
And furthermore, just want to clarify that I'm speaking for the motion, given that there's no real recommendations to a changed motion.
Okay.
But yeah.
For or against?
Well, for the motion.
You're
itself.
against the recommendation, for the motion? Gotcha.
Well, I don't know what the recommendation is, given.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry.
Lord Mayor, councillors, CEO, and the admin team, thank you again for having the opportunity to speak on a very important safety issue for our community. Today, I'm speaking on behalf of the East Perth Community Group as secretary on 19.1, which is a request for further traffic calming measures on De Fleming Avenue in East Perth. The safety issue with De Fleming Avenue has been bubbling in the background for quite some time. In fact, the City of Perth had already attempted once in 2024 with the installation of a traffic island, which unfortunately did not fully address the concerns. So when the Streets Alive grant rolled around once again this year, EPCG decided to apply our capacity to formally investigate the issue on behalf of the community. I think it's safe to say with the report that we have produced, we were not really prepared for the results we were about to discover. I wish to briefly highlight the current streetscape for those not familiar with this street. De Fleming Avenue is a small stretch of local access road nestled between the former Fraser Suites Hotel and the upcoming Garden Towers development. It is bound to the north by Hayes Street and to the south by Adelaide Terrace, which is also includes a dedicated bus lane used by over 20 Transperth buses. It is also home to numerous perpendicular parking bays on both sides of this tiny little street, resulting in a complex interface of pedestrians, active transport, commuters, stationary vehicles, and unfortunately right now, plenty of rat runners. For those that don't know what rat running is, it's basically shortcuts to get you from one place to another. As our survey indicates, this local access road is currently acting as a distributor, which is not within the guidelines of what the road is for, and it's especially during peak hour. Our survey results also point to almost 1 in 5 respondents having witnessed a collision on the interface between De Fleming and the bus lane on Adelaide Terrace. This result has significantly raised the initial perceived risk that prompted us to conduct the survey in the first place. Now, with the opening of the state government housing project Q4, which began moving in 2 weeks ago, and the Garden Towers development, which is scheduled for completion in the next quarter or two, we're looking at about 560 new households that require this street for access. This combination of facts does require our immediate attention. Road safety issues are widespread in WA. In an article published in Perth Now last week, an AI camera trial in North Perth by the City of Vincent recorded on average 38 close calls every day on a street corner. Just last night, there was an unfortunate incident in Swan View of a collision between an e-scooter and a Transperth bus in a T-junction not dissimilar to the one we're looking at, which unfortunately resulted in a fatality. So as a community group, it is our role to identify issues and escalate them for them so they have a chance to be addressed. And I want to point to Dr. Ko. You know, as a doctor, we'll always tell you, a prevention is always better than a cure. Now, I understand that external funding through Streets Alive may not be the city's preferred pathway, but given the recent reports from WALGA pointing to a 5 to 8% rate hike on the horizon, any source of external funding should be seriously considered. I refer to the $75,000 grant received by the City of Joondalup for the enhancement of Davidson Terrace, which addresses similar speed issues and pedestrian interface. And in fact, the City of Perth has worked with West Perth Local before on this grant in the Native Bee Scene project. So I just want to wrap up and say thank you to Councillor Patton for taking up the community's call to champion this issue. And I want to acknowledge Councillors Toshi, Gonsalves and Lisa for having been ex-committee members of the East Perth Community Group. And finally, I'd like to give our gratitude to the member for Perth, John Kerry, who has formally given us support for our efforts, and I'll table a letter of support to Council as part of my deputation. Thank you very much.
Perfect timing. Whoops, stop. Thank you very much for that, mate. And yes, I'll pass through to Councillor Doshi, who has a question.
Thank you, through you, Lord Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Bowe. Can I ask how many people have been consulted or been given the chance for feedback regarding this deputation and NOM?
And through you, Lord Mayor, we sent out a survey to the entire Queens Riverside community, the View Towers community, and there was a link available on East Perth Local. So I'd say a significant number of...
Do you have a number?
I can't tell you how many people were in East Perth off the top of my head, I'm afraid.
Responses from your survey?
There were 40 responses.
40, thank you. My next question, Mr. Bowe, is what stakeholder engagement have you conducted outside of Queens Riverside, View Towers and the East Perth Community Group? Who else have you spoken to?
In terms of...
So in terms of this proposal, have you spoken to the developers that have over 400 units when people started moving in July? Is that something that you've approached?
So we obviously did try to reach out to Finbar,
Right.
the developers. They are not too interested in telling their potential buyers that there is a problem, which I think is understandable. We reached out to Foundation Housing Limited, who are the community housing providers at Q4, and they've been quite happy to hear that we are engaging actively with the state government to, and obviously the City of Perth Council to deliver traffic calming for their residents, because given there are only 20 odd parking bays, most of their new residents will be taking the bus, and it is a major transit corridor.
Lovely. And has the survey or the report that you've provided to us elected members been written by a professional qualified engineer? And was that commissioned by the East Perth Community Group?
I provided that service pro bono. I am a qualified engineer, yeah.
A qualified professional engineer with all the right qualifications to provide the report?
Well, the engineering qualifications, yes, I do have it, yeah.
You do, right.
Yeah. I do want to stress, I'm not a traffic engineer, but I am an engineer.
So the information that you've provided in the report, is that qualified information if it was a formal report that's presented to us?
I think just...
okay, I just want to clarify, what we provided in the engineering world is called a survey report. That is to identify a problem. I think you may be confused with what we provide as a preliminary item, sorry.
Yeah.
And the final product, which is a peer-reviewed document, which is obviously actually what we're asking the team at City of Perth to do. The initial document does not necessarily require certification or peer review. It's literally just we saw a problem, we quantified the problem, we identified it to the next step. We're actually not even at the feasibility study stage. Performing a street trial to collect more data is sort of the feasibility study. So,
okay, thank you, Mr. Bowe. And my last question is, prior to this NOM or deputation, have you approached the City of Perth? You did mention in your deputation that this has been bubbling in the background for a long time. So on that basis, has the City of Perth been approached regarding this matter outside of this deputation?
The City of Perth has been engaged multiple times on this matter by different members in the community. Actually, if you refer to the survey data, there was a qualitative section where we asked, what other problems or what other comments do you want to add to your survey answer? And there was actually one responder that said they contacted the traffic team, dropped a traffic, officer's name in the survey results and said, we've raised this issue many, many times, and the response has always been unsatisfactory. So, you know, it's not, we didn't conjure this problem out of thin air. We are just responding to the community's call to address a safety concern.
Thank you. And may I just get a response from the city?
Through to the CEO.
Thank you very much, Lord Mayor. Could I invite the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability to respond, please?
Thank you. And through the Lord Mayor, I can advise that we have got data collected on Devlemming. So there have been previous consultations undertaken. But in terms of this specific application, with respect to the options that are being put forward, I would have to take that on notice because I don't believe our officers have been approached to assess this proposal around the trial. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Well, there it is. Just for clarity, we did, as I mentioned, we did send an update to elected members yesterday, last night, to retract some of the attachments which were not meant to be in with the motion pack in the first place. Some of those things were simply suggestions that we put forward as a starting point, not necessarily the answer that we think, you know, as a community group, we don't have the data in the first place, nor do we have the qualifications or the expertise or enough engineers to peer review what we're doing. So we're simply presenting, this is the starting point. This is the brainstorming section that we did, and for the city to you know, tell us, yes, this is a good idea, or no, that's not possible, and go forward from there. End of the day, all we're looking for is a safer street for our community. And you know, we approach council because this is a major decision, much like the 40-kilometre speed limit. You know, it is a strategic piece to calm the streets, not necessarily fixing a pothole. So, yeah, I mean that's the direction we took. Yeah,
Jason, I think you've made your point very clear there, and I guess from where I sit is there's no such thing as a bad idea, and this is an entirely appropriate forum for you to bring things to the council. We don't necessarily have to agree with them. And if they do come through and they do get judged, I will vouch that I'm not an engineer, but I'll probably have to vote on that item. So, you know, you're entirely welcome to come forward and to have this opportunity. Councillor Coe.
Thanks, Mr. Bowe, for bringing this report. And you actually outlined it very clearly that this is like a survey report as opposed to a proper peer-reviewed engineering report. And I kind of understand that because in medicine we have similar levels of evidence. I just want to get back to your point. There is genuine safety concern around that area. You've got a massive new Finbar development on that corner of Pearce Street and Hay Street. You also got that new government housing establishments coming in. There's got to be more people living there. From the start of Adelaide Terrace to Victoria Avenue is 50 kilometres per hour. How do you feel about dropping that down to 40?
I think I've given my thoughts on that one when you guys were voting on it. I support lowered speed limits across the city personally, but because I'm here speaking on behalf of East Perth Community Group, I can't give you a community group's view on that one without a resolution of committee.
All right,
thank you.
Worries. Thank you. Deputy Lord Mayor.
Thanks. I just wanted to, you mentioned there, and we've had a lot of questions, so I appreciate that it may have gotten lost, but just wanted to understand the original crux and the rationale behind all of this, because you mentioned there a grant and that you're pursuing a grant.
Yep.
It seems like, you know, there's been a bit of pushback, but can you explain what you were trying to do there with working within this grant process and who the grant is administered by and what is the original rationale with what you were trying to achieve?
So the grant is called Streets Alive, which is meant for traffic calming and returning realms that have been captured by vehicles due to our city, the way our city is set up, back to the pedestrian realm. So we are looking for simple, quick solutions that don't require years of planning and pipelines of works. So the word that the grant likes to use is called tactical urbanism, where we put something simple to change the streetscape just ever so slightly to influence behaviour. And once once behaviour changes, the streets become a different place. And, you know, with this little street, we're next to Queen's Gardens. We've got 560 new households coming in. We're down the road from the new East Perth Primary School. You know, it is a very, very pedestrian-focused area. So I just wanted to bring this item through the community group to council because it's better to get ahead of these projects before they complete, before, you know, God forbid something unfortunate actually happens and then we go, we should have looked at that a while ago. You know, that's sort of the intent. Okay. In terms of the grant process, I mean, look, it is never easy to administer grants. Let's not pretend it's free money, but if we do go through the right processes, this project does tick the boxes, and indeed I do have a support letter from the minister, the member for Perth. I shouldn't refer to it as ministry, but the member for Perth has endorsed our approach. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Was that all the questions? No, thank you very much, Jason. Good to see you. And in the meantime, we can get Councillor Gobbett, and while that's happening, Councillor Coe, prevention, cure, or apple a day? What's more important? That's a don't have to answer that. Okay, now we would like to our first deputation for 19.2. If I could welcome Vicky Ranishevsky to the lectern, please. And Councillor Coe is to exit while we're doing that. Thank you, Doctor. Vicky, it's over to you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Vicky Ranishevsky, City of Perth ratepayer and community advocate. My deputation relates to item 19.2, cat route enhancement. I'm here today to respectfully seek the City of Perth's support in advocating to the state government and the Public Transport Authority for a minor but highly strategic enhancement to the Blue Cat route. This proposal is not about creating a new service. It is about making a small adjustment in an existing route, improving connectivity between the CBD, East Perth, Boorloo Bridge and the Swan River foreshore. The proposed route would see the Blue Cat depart Barrack Street Jetty and travel along East Riverside Drive, stopping at Fraser Point near the Boorloo Bridge landing before continuing via Adelaide Terrace and St George's Terrace and reconnecting with its existing route. The suggestion to travel along Riverside Drive is intentional. It captures one of Perth's most scenic corridors, showcasing the Swan River and pristine Langley Park, creating a far more engaging experience for visitors and tourists. It is simply not a transport connection. It is an introduction to our beautiful city, Perth. Following the Fraser Point stop, the proposed additional stops would be Adelaide Terrace near Plain Street, Adelaide Terrace near Bennett Street, St George's Terrace near Victoria Avenue, and St George's Terrace near the Bungie Spaceman, before reconnecting with the existing Blue Cat route at Barrack Street, which continues through to the North Bridge precinct. Right now, we have a major new piece of infrastructure in the Boorloo Bridge, a growing East Perth population exceeding 10,000 residents and approximately 2,100 hotel rooms within this corridor. We also have around 3,000 users per day crossing Boorloo Bridge, and in April 2025, Main Roads WA reported that in the first week alone of opening, approximately 80,000 people visited or crossed the bridge. That clearly demonstrates the significance of Boorloo Bridge as a major landmark and movement corridor within this city. This is not a future opportunity. This is a high-use corridor that is currently not connected at all to the CAT network. While Transperth Route 24 operates nearby, many residents and visitors are simply unaware of this service. The CAT network is highly visible, easy to use, and widely recognised by visitors, tourists, and residents. By extending the Blue Cat to Fraser Point, we create a direct and visible connection between the CBD, the river, and this growing eastern precinct. This delivers improved connectivity, increased activation of the riverfront, support for local businesses, and greater utilisation of Burraloo Bridge. Increased activation of public spaces also contributes to community safety. More people, more visibility, and more movement naturally reduce the likelihood of antisocial behaviour. This proposal also supports major events at Langley Park. During large events, a temporary cat stop along Riverside Drive could service patrons directly, reducing traffic congestion and parking pressure within the area. Importantly, my formal proposal has been provided to the City of Perth and presented to John Kerry, Member for Perth. I met with John Kerry on the 10th of April and he was very supportive, advising he would progress and pass my written formal proposal on to Rita Safiotti, Minister for Transport. This is a low-cost, low-risk proposal using existing infrastructure. As a 6-month pilot program commencing in spring would allow demand to be tested and inform future decisions. Today, I respectfully ask this Council to support and vote in favour of the motion put forward by Councillor Leeser. At a time when there is so much focus on division, this is exactly the kind of project where all levels of government can align and deliver a visible, practical outcome for the community. This is a small, strategic change that improves connectivity, supports local business, enhances safety, and strengthens how people experience our city. It is practical, it is evidence-based, and it already has momentum. I respectfully ask for your support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Vicky. I'll just like to put that to the floor. Has anyone got any questions? No? Well done.
Thank you.
Okay, can I please ask, is Jennifer Long in? Hello, Jennifer. If you can please come forward and speak for item 19.2. Good to see you.
Good evening. My name's Jennifer Long. I'm a business owner. I own and operate a charter boat, which is berthed at on the Point. So I'm speaking to support what Vicky has just said about the cat bus, 19.2 cat route enhancement. So my boat is actually berthed at the Point Fraser jetty, but we don't do public cruises or any of our cruises from that jetty because of the parking the parking problems there are that there isn't enough parking for the facilities already operating on the Point. So when I moved my boat there, I was asked, can I operate from Barrack Street Jetty? So that's what we do. We have a beautiful venue there on the Point, but my customers do not come and go from that venue. I go 10 minutes up the river to Barrack Street Jetty and people get on and off my boat there, totally missing all the venues, the eating venues and the bars that are going on at the Point. So our business revolves around private charters, public charters and school cruises. We're quite a busy boat. At any time, we usually have about 80 guests on board the boat. And it is just a shame that we're forced to use a jetty other than the jetty that we're actually paying rent at and berthed at. The parking congestion in the current car park there is just such an issue for the businesses at the Point. If there was the cat bus route going from other car parks around the city and also from the train station, it would alleviate the parking issues that we have. I just think that would make my business easier. It would make the people coming and going from my boat would also then be accessing the businesses on the Point, whereas at the moment we're totally missing that. And that's really their benefit more than mine, but yeah, we are missing that. This problem that I have with having to operate on another jetty is going to be made more difficult in a few months' time. Jetty 1 is going to be closed because there's an upgrade to Barrack Street Jetty proposed to happen in early next year. So at that point, not being able to use the jetty on birthday, and I'm not going to be able to use Barrack Street Jetty, we're actually going to be operating my business from other jetties around probably South Perth or Burswood Jetty, taking the business completely out of the Perth region altogether to other suburbs. So, yeah, with that in mind, I would just ask that the council vote in support of a cat bus. I think that it's not, that difficult just to put a cat bus they're already operating in the city, but to include the point because it's a fantastic venue and it's completely getting missed by the cat bus services.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll just see if there's any questions. No? Good job. Thank you.
Okay, thank
Really
you.
good to see you. I would now like to invite Alexandra Abbott to please come forward. Speaking for item 19.2. Good to see you again. How are you?
Good evening and good to see you again, everyone. Bear with me once. Good evening, Lord Mayor and councillors. My name is Alexandra Abbott and I appear in support of item 19.2, the notice of motion concerning cat route enhancement at Point Fraser. My deputation focuses on three closely related issues: connectivity, legibility and equitable access. The administration response notes that Point Fraser is already serviced by Route 24 and its existing frequency is considered appropriate for current demand. With respect, that is too narrow a way of looking at the issue. The real question is not simply whether Point Fraser can technically be reached by bus, but whether it is connected in a way that is clear, visible and intuitive for people to use with confidence. Point Fraser is a perimeter riverfront destination. It does not benefit from the same incidental CBD foot traffic as more central locations. As a result, any friction in getting there has a disproportionately large effect on visitation, staff access, and how fully the area can participate in the life of the city and the wider East Perth community. That is why legibility matters. The CAT service is more than just a bus. It is a highly legible public transport product. People recognise it, understand it, and trust it. The same cannot really be said for the Route 24, which, although free within the free transit zone, does not offer the same clarity or confidence for residents, visitors, workers, or occasional users. This is also an issue of equitable access. A connection that is easy to identify and easy to use matters for those less familiar with the network, including visitors, families, older people, and casual staff. A CAT connection would make Point Fraser more accessible in practical everyday terms. Borloo Bridge has strengthened Point Fraser's role in the riverfront movement network, seen alongside the proposed bowling club renewal and the Wacker Aquatic and community facilities, and the planned Aboriginal Cultural Centre on Terrace Road, and Point Fraser's identification as a potential future ferry terminal. The case is for proactive CAT connectivity now, so access helps drive demand and activation, rather than waiting for constraints to become entrenched. This is not a request for the benefit of one private entity. On the point at Point Fraser is a working precinct that supports commercial operators, hospitality workers, casual staff, visitors and community use. And better public transport access would reduce reliance on scarce parking while improving connectivity to an important part of the city's riverfront economy. The PTA's position appears to be that current demand and surrounding land use do not yet justify CAT expansion. Respectfully, that is too static a view of a destination precinct such as Point Fraser, because transport connectivity does not merely respond to demand, it can help generate it. If council is not yet ready to press for permanent extension, there is a strong argument for a pilot scheme, as a pilot is the most sensible way to test whether improved connectivity would unlock greater use and activation. In closing, this motion is modest, sensible and well-founded. It asks for the city to advocate for stronger connectivity, greater legibility and more equitable access between Point Fraser and the central city. That would benefit residents, workers, visitors and the broader public, while aligning with the city's wider ambitions for a connected, livable riverfront. On behalf of the tenants, management and owners of On the Point Perth, I support the motion. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much for that, and perfectly timed. Good job. Has anyone got any questions? Deputy Lord Mayor?
Thanks. Thank you again for coming back. Oh.
Sorry, we just got one quick question. One quick question for you.
Yeah, quick question. Look, I really appreciate you coming back from last time, because I think we discussed a few of the connected issues about connectivity, and I wanted to ask you, there is Route 24, which provides a bit of connection to the busport, but obviously it's been a running issue in terms of greater connections throughout the neighbourhood. I wanted to ask you about the north-south kind of axis, because obviously, there's the potential for people in Claysbrook and across East Perth to be involved in the area when they're so close. Is that an area that we need to look at, the north-south connection?
Well, I suppose ultimately I'm not a town planner or a transport expert, but I would have thought that a pilot scheme doesn't necessarily have to be constrained to one particular route. From my point of view, I feel that different groups of people are likely to use the different routes depending on whether they're tourists or whether they're residents. However, at the end of the day, I just feel that it would be prudent to start thinking and trialling and testing something like this now, rather than waiting. And it still ultimately comes back to the visibility point. Route 24, nobody knows where it starts. It's not in a sensible location, like it doesn't start at the Perth Underground. It starts a little bit away down St George's Terrace. And also the free transit zone in itself is difficult to interpret. So I cannot help but say, every cat bus has a whacking great big cat on the side of it, and everybody knows that it's a free bus. Taxi drivers have told me when I've sat in the back of the car, oh, I always tell the tourists, get on the cat, it's free. So, that's where we sort of end with that argument.
Fair enough. Okay. All righty. Well, thank you so much. Good to see you again.
Thank you. Like a boomerang in the bridge, I'll be back, no doubt.
Always welcome. Always good to see you. If we could just please get Councillor Coe back in. And while we're doing that, items 7 through to 10 will be dealt with at the next ordinary council meeting. And now we move to reports. Good to see you, Doctor. 11.1, draft tree retention of private property local planning policy, Crawley, Nedlands neighbourhood. We do not have any conflicts of interest. We don't have any questions with notice. Are there any questions on that item from the floor? Councillor Leeser.
Thank you. Just a quick question for the planning team. Is it possible that there is a scenario where somebody is deemed to comply for a granny flat or a shed, and yet they will have to get a DA under this policy for a tree removal to put that granny flat or shed in that location on their block?
Okay, thank you. Through to the CEO.
And if I could invite the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability to respond, please.
Through the Lord Mayor, if it is considered a regulated tree under the policy within the Crawley Nedlands area, it could be conceived that a DA would be required to remove the tree or relocate that tree if it falls under the definition.
And just one follow-up. In regards to the significant tree register, which we don't seem to be getting anywhere with state government, how many significant trees or heritage listed trees are in the Crawley Nedlands neighbourhood?
Through to the CEO.
And back to the General Manager, please.
Through the Lord Mayor, I'd have to take that question on notice, Councillor.
Any further questions? Deputy Lord Mayor.
Thanks. We heard there from Gareth from the Western Residents Association that there is still...
I think he was from Nedlands. I'm not sure if he was on the residents, but it's okay. Just
listed down, but I'm happy to correct that.
Doesn't matter. Either
way. We heard there that around the definition, it's been brought up before around the use of and or the use of or combination of those. We didn't end up settling on using or. Can we have more rationale as to why that is, and what is that going to protect our trees as envisaged? In particular, he mentioned around the Walker definition being broader.
Okay, I'll just pop that through to the GM of Planning and Sustainability.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. You're quite right, Deputy Lord Mayor. We took you through a process late last year where we discussed the various definitions that may be applied in terms of the regulated tree options. We took the approach that the definition would be either the canopy diameter or the trunk circumferences, etc., which was different to the Wolga definition. Comparatively, basically, this would protect trees that do not achieve a height of 8 metres. So the Wolga definition, if you took the Wolga definition, if it was less than 8 metres but still meet the canopy of trunk circumference dimensions, it would still be triggered by the policy. We took a more modified definition because it was on the basis of what is contributing to the character of the Crawley Nedlands locality. Essentially it is the trees that offer the greatest canopy, which are the ones that are over the 8 metres, that contribute to that streetscape and broader sort of characteristics that are not easily replaced. So they're the ones that we're trying to protect through a development application process that would be seeking to balance the assessment of any tree removal with any development intentions for the site. So those smaller juvenile style trees that offer less canopy wouldn't be triggered. So it was intentional to balance those competing demands around potential development opportunity, tree protection around trees that offer canopy cover or considerable canopy cover and are not readily replaced, but also a more balanced approach in terms of resourcing a policy change.
Well done, thank you. Any further questions? No? Thank you. Alrighty, we'll now move to 11.2, which is the Welga Climate Change Advisory Position Support. No questions with notice. Are there any questions from the floor on that item? No, thank you. Item 12.1 is the commemorative, I can't say the word today, works proposal for the Gary White plaque for King Street. If there are any questions, Councillor Leeser does have to leave the chamber. We haven't got anything on notice. We're okay with that one. Beautiful, thank you. 12.2 is the nom for the response to public artwork in storage. Any questions on that one? Councillor Gobbett.
Thanks, Lord Mayor. With regards to the pagoda bronzes, what's the timeline for the Russell Square project? I appreciate that could be taken on notice and might better be dealt with through a CIBN, but
we'll
just
just
get
check
some
that one for you.
indication.
Through to the CEO.
Thank you. We'll take that on notice.
Thank you. Any other questions on that item? Deputy Lord Mayor.
Thanks. We heard there about concerns from the Church of the Cactus that the former Lord Mayor might have opined opinions about the removal of the cactus, and we heard there from the from Bradley, who did the deputation, that there's real momentum to activate the space. My question to the admin through you, Lord Mayor, is whether there is that potential for the administration to support a cactus festival or something that provides a living opportunity to be married up with the physical public art.
Okay, I'll pop that through to the CEO.
Thank you. We'll take that on notice.
Okay.
Yep.
Any further questions?
Thanks. And I just wanted to get, if we can, happy for it to be taken on notice, just more information about the Captain Sterling statue and the engagement that has been done, and the administration's advice around the sensitivities there. That would be useful to know.
No worries. Thank you. I'll take. Yep, you can. I'll pass that through the CEO. She could decide.
Thank you very much, Lord Mayor. We can answer that question. If I could invite the manager to respond, please.
Thank you, and through you, Lord Mayor. This particular item, the Captain Sterling item, we are certainly looking at options on where it needs to be relocated. And what we're also looking at is how an engagement plan where we'll be talking to a number of community organisations, including our advisory groups, to talk about that interpretation. But the idea is to not just look at Captain Sterling, to take an overall view of all of our works that, if you like, talk about our colonised history, to kind of look at the various different aspects of those histories to ensure that we can take a holistic approach to that. So that is in train, but we've been focusing on the public art strategy and these projects initially, but that is in train.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? No. And I welcome relatively new staff member to the team, and I don't know if I've met anyone who's as passionate about the arts as you are, so fantastic addition to the team. So kind of like your informal entry today. So I think we're okay with that one. We can move forward. No more questions on that item. Thank you. 12.3, which is regards to the response for the ore obelisk. No questions are noticed. Any further questions on that one from the floor?
Happy to ask.
Deputy Lord Mayor.
Just in our deputation listing, we do have the first comment from the administration saying that the city has sought to speak with Ms Curtis regarding the recommendation. Unfortunately, Ms Curtis has not been available to speak to the city, but we look forward to engaging with her soon. One of the direct question I asked there was to Ms Curtis about whether any contact had been made, and we heard that none has. Can I just get some more clarification as to what's going on?
Okay, thank you. Through to the CEO.
If I could invite the manager to respond, please, with the specifics.
Thank you. Through you, Lord Mayor. Yes, we've reached out to Ms Curtis for a meeting, and the time, we couldn't find a time that lined up for either of us, so we're meeting this Friday to have a deeper discussion about the public art strategy and other aspects of the work that we're doing here at the city, so that is in train.
Beautiful, thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Patton.
Yeah, we heard in the deputation of Sandy Angie about the possibility of putting certain parts of it on display in the foyer. I think personally, I mean, if the logistics are okay, it's a great idea to keep that part of history close to where it was. Can I get the administration's view on whether keeping a part of that on display at Council House is feasible?
Okay, thank you. Through to the CEO.
And through to the manager, please.
Through you, Lord Mayor, we have followed our policies on this one, and in terms of the policies, when a work has degraded to the point that we can no longer reinstate it, we need to talk to the artist, or the artist, in this case, the artist's family representative, about next steps. So we've been engaged with the family representative of the Ritter family, and we've talked through the options. They have talked about their intent to take some of the work, not all of the work. So they're comfortable with the approach to deaccessioning and the approach to creating a digital, digital version of the work with interpretation, which I can talk about, but that's not the nature of the question. So really, the policy states that we we make a decision about deaccessioning, and from there we talk to the family. So really the policy doesn't guide us to say, well, let's take multiple opinions. We have taken those opinions on board, but the family gets the first call on this one.
All right, thank you. Councillor Doshi.
Thank you. Through you, Lord Mayor. Would it be okay to ask the question as to, when speaking with the family, have they specified what they wish to keep away from the public realm and take with them as a memory?
Okay, thank you. Through to the CEO.
And the manager, please.
Yes, they want to take the pole and then the metal object on the end of the artwork. So that they're the aspects of the work that they would like to take with them.
Fair enough. So the pole and the top, yeah. Yep.
Could I just clarify?
And the diamond and golds if I was them, but no. Sorry, Deputy
Just
Lord Mayor.
clarify, is that what is meant there is the drill bit? Is that what was
The
meant?
core, yep.
The
Which is
core.
the drill bit.
And if I could just ask, what are the issues there? It is a piece of public art. It is owned by the residents and ratepayers of the city. We did hear a proposal there from Sandy Angie during the deputation that it be on display for the public. In that scenario, we'd be effectively privatising an asset.
I think we've heard Sandy's position. I think that we're not in a position here to debate what we're going to do around that. So I think it's...
the question is, could I just get clarification over the public versus private nature of our public art assets?
So clarify the question, sorry?
Clarify what our obligations are, that it is a public asset, and I'm happy for that to be taken on notice, but just to understand what is the process there and whether it is an asset owned by
No, I get that.
ratepayers.
All right, we'll take that on notice and get that one back to you. Any further questions on 12.4? No, thank you very much. Moving now to 12.5, which is the non-response for Perth Art Award. No? So we're still on 12? Okay, take it back. We're actually still on, we're going to go to 12.4, which is response to the arch. I've scribbled all over that page, that's why I thought we'd done that one. Any questions on that item? No, thank you. 12.5, which is a non-response for the Perth Art Award. Any questions on that item? Deputy Lord Mayor?
Thanks. We heard there as well, just in terms of the approach that we could choose both. Could we get, through you, Lord Mayor, more information about how a biannual approach might work, where we'd have the award in 1 year and the acquisition in the second year? And I'd be really keen to find out some indicative funding estimates.
Okay, thank you. I'll pop that one through to the CEO.
We'll take that on notice, thank you.
Any further questions on that item? No? Okay, thank you. Item 13, there are no reports on our Infrastructure and Operations Alliance. Item 14.1 is the Corporate Business Plan for 25-26 through to 28-29, Quarterly Progress Report 3. No questions with notice. Any questions on that item? Thank you. 15.1 is the monthly financial statements for February 2026. No questions on notice. Are there any questions on that item? Thank you. 15.2, scheduled of paid accounts for February 2026. No questions with notice. Are there any questions on that item? No. Thank you. Item 16, no reports. 17, no reports. And 18, no reports. Item 19, which is motions for which notice have been given. 19.1, the D. Fleming. Yep, there's a question. Yep, thank you. De Fleming Ave traffic calming trial. If there are any questions that item, Councillor Gower will be required to leave the chamber. So we'll just do a quick health check on that one. Sorry, Councillor, you're going to just have to shoot through very quickly.
Mine's not really a question. I'm just wondering if...
Just a sec. Sorry, mate.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. So thanks, Lord Mayor. I apologise. I did send the questions through a bit late.
That's fine.
I just want to just make sure the administration has received the questions. I'm happy to have them on notice.
Okay. Yes, we have received those questions and we'll receive them on notice. Any further questions? Deputy Lord Mayor? Thanks.
Thanks. Thank you, Lord Mayor. We heard there about the Streets Alive grants, and doing my own research, looks like it's administered by the Town Team movement. Can we get an understanding whether any other community groups or there's a history of the city applying for this? I was really keen to find out whether we've taken advantage of all the opportunities versus what happens in other councils.
Yep, sure. I'll pass that through to the CEO.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Yes, other neighbourhood groups have actually sought that particular grant and been successful. I think that was also raised. I'll give you more detail on notice. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? No problem. If we could please invite Councillor Gobbett back. We'll move to item 19.2, which is the notice of a motion for the cat route enhancement for the Burrelly Bridge, Fraser Point. Councillor Coe is required to leave if there are any questions. Any questions on that item? No, mate, just joking. Okay, thank you. We'll move on to 19.3. Notice of motion for community safety. Are there any questions on this item?
Yep. If I can,
yeah, sure.
Just to mention that we previously recently had the City of Perth committee, and it is a question that is broad, but to ask, we had a direct offer from the Premier to have regular meetings with the Minister for Police and the Minister for Transport and Treasurer. I'd like to request any information from the admin as to whether they can facilitate that and what that would look like.
I can answer that one. Mike Yates is actually drafting those letters for us, and I'm hoping to receive them anytime soon. So that's where that's at. No problem. Okay, that's 19.3, community safety. Any further questions on that item? Okay. Moving to item 20, matters for which this meeting may be closed. Item 20.1 and 20.2 are designated confidential in accordance with section 5.23 bracket 2 and bracket B of the Local Government Act 1995. If any councillors have questions relating to these items, we'll need to move behind closed doors and pause the live stream. So in regards to 20.1 and 20.2, are there any questions on those items? Yes, there is. So we will pause the live stream. No Thanks, Sebs. And looks like we're up and running. Thank you. Item 21, urgent business. This item will be dealt with at next ordinary council meeting if required. Pardon?
No decisions here.
No decision, sorry. Thank you. Yep, but you're right. We know that one works now. Okay, and we do have someone coming back into the meeting. All right, no problem. So, no, I won't make that joke. Meeting is now open. Urgent business. Any urgent business will be dealt with the next ordinary council meeting. Item 22, closure. There being no further business, I now declare the agenda briefing session is officially closed at 7:18 p.m. Thank you all for attending. Good meeting.
Could you please all rise for the Right Honourable the Lord Mayor of Perth, Mr Bruce Reynolds.